We're exposed to all sorts of risks and accidents every day, which is naturally part of everyday life. As babies, we start to crawl and learn to stand up, then walk, and to run fast. And as we learn to move around, we fall down and bump into things, not to mention crying from the pain and the fear of getting hurt again. As we get older, we become more and more mobile and are constantly at risk of hitting our heads against all kinds of things like doors, poles, walls, and even floors. And if you play any contact sport, colliding with the opposing team could cause you a concussion. In this episode of Fancied Facts, we'll look at how a concussion affects your brain and what are the best recovery practices if you or someone you know experiences it. What is a concussion? A concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury, or TBI, caused by a bump, blow, or jolt that causes the head and brain to move rapidly. This sudden movement can cause the brain to bounce around or twist in the skull, causing chemical changes and occasionally stretching and damaging brain cells. How does concussion affect the brain? Your brain is mostly 60% fat, with the remaining 40% a combination of water, protein, carbohydrates, and salt. It is very soft and squishy and feels like blobs of fat that deform easily with the touch of a finger. It floats in cerebrospinal fluid, and it's only that liquid holding it in place. So when concussion occurs, either a direct impact or whiplash, the skull moves, but the brain gets left behind, causing it to bump against the skull. When the brain is pushed hard against the inside of the skull, it can be bruised by the impact. Furthermore, different parts of the brain can move at different speeds, stretching and tearing nerve tissue. The brain's ion and chemical balances can be upset, impairing nerve cell function and contributing to the loss of consciousness seen in concussion. Sometimes the nerve fibers can recover, but more severely injured nerve fibers can lose their ability to send signals and communicate with other brain cells indefinitely. Secondary injuries are brain processes that are activated in the injured brain and can exacerbate the effects of a concussion. Injuries of this type include the production of harmful chemicals known as free radicals. Free radicals are oxygen-containing molecules with an imbalanced number of electrons. Because of the odd number, they can react quickly with other molecules. Since free radicals react so easily with other molecules, they can cause large chemical reactions in your body. These reactions are known as oxidation. Oxidation causes inflammation, impaired transport of molecules within nerve cells, and imbalances to the ions needed for nerve function. Recovering from these injuries requires a lot of energy, but the damage makes it difficult for nerve cells to generate that energy. Blood flow to the injury site can also be reduced, limiting the delivery of oxygen and nutrients required for recovery, also reducing the removal of waste products and damaged material. Learn how to recognize the symptoms of a concussion. Let's say, God forbid, that you experience a concussion. There are symptoms that you need to be aware of to avoid further complications. Concussion symptoms can be subtle and may not be apparent right away. Depending on the severity of the impact, the symptoms can last for days, weeks, or even longer. Some typical symptoms after a traumatic brain injury are headache, memory loss, and confusion. The memory loss, called amnesia, often involves forgetting what happened to cause the concussion in the first place. Let's bring to your attention the two perspectives of symptoms according to the CDC. 1. People who witnessed signs of someone with brain trauma, and 2. People reporting what they themselves experienced after the brain trauma. If you see someone else who's concussed, they might seem dazed or stunned, respond to questions slowly, not remember what happened before or after a hit or fall, forget an instruction, be confused about what they're meant to be doing, like losing track of a game they're playing, the score, or the opponent, lose consciousness, even briefly, move clumsily, changes in mood, behavior, or personality. If you suffer a concussion yourself, you might experience symptoms like headache or pressure in the head, balance problems or dizziness, double or blurry vision, nausea or vomiting, annoyance from light or noise, feeling hazy, sluggish, foggy, or groggy, simply not feeling right or feeling down, confusion, concentration, or memory issues. The best practices for recovery. Now that we understand what concussion looks and feels like, let's learn some of the proper practices for recovering from the trauma at home. After seeking medical attention, in most cases, you'll be sent home to rest. Physical and cognitive exercise in reasonable amounts can reduce recovery time and improve your chances of healing correctly. The following are the recommended practices. 1. Getting plenty of rest. This part of traditional concussion advice is sound. If possible, avoid using electronics. For someone who has recently suffered a TBI, the rapid eye movement required to watch constantly refreshing LED screen pixelation can cause eye muscle strain. Backlighting from most screens and loud noise from some smart devices may also cause headaches and nausea in post-concussive patients. That's not to say you have to completely avoid screen time, but you shouldn't spend the entire day doing so. Normal non-screen activities will aid in the recovery of your brain. Chores, chatting with friends, and even light work may be beneficial. Remember to take breaks as needed between these activities. 2. Light workouts. Rest is an integral part of treating a concussion, but it's not the only thing you should be doing. Exercise is essential too. With that in mind, try choosing a workout that doesn't waggle your head sideways or up and down. For instance, if you have access to a stationary bike or an elliptical machine, these are excellent ways to get your blood pumping without aggravating your concussion. Moderate physical activity, even on the first or second day after a concussion, speeds recovery and reduces the likelihood of developing post-concussion syndrome. Light exercise will still produce the chemicals your brain requires to start the healing process. 3. Eat healthier food. According to a study of the National Institutes of Health, branched-chain amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, may alleviate some cognitive symptoms of a concussion. Make an effort to consume plenty of protein, meaty proteins such as beef, turkey, salmon, chicken, and oysters, and plant-based proteins like pinto beans, lentils, black beans, chickpeas, and edamame. You can also add nuts to the mix. For example, hazelnuts, pistachios, almonds, walnuts, and cashews are all options and high in branched-chain amino acids. Also, make sure to drink enough water. Water allows you to digest and absorb other nutrients, helps you feel focused and alert, and assists in cell growth, among many other things. Water is also crucial for temperature regulation and your circulatory system, which is often hampered after a concussion. 4. Doing cognitive exercises. It is imperative to exercise your brain so neuroplasticity, your brain's natural ability to rewire itself, can be activated. You can do so by engaging in various cognitive rehabilitation exercises, like the card sorting game, which can aid attention and memory. Guess the word improves language and executive function skills. Eye-tracking exercises are the ability to move your eyes from left to right or up and down while still focusing on an object. This is a necessary skill for reading, writing, driving, and numerous other everyday activities. These exercises force your brain to think novelly, allowing it to form new neural pathways. These new pathways will assist you in strengthening many cognitive skills, such as memory and recall, as well as regaining some skills you may have lost, such as speaking after TBI. Here are some examples of cognitive games. Tangrams are real-world puzzles. You begin with a set number of shapes, squares, triangles, and rhombuses, and an outline image. The challenge is to figure out how all the shapes fit into the silhouette. This exercise is good for vision executive therapy. Rush Hour is a puzzle game in which you try to maneuver a little red car out of a traffic jam, but you must move the cars, trucks, and buses that are blocking it first. It aids executive function, a set of mental processes that allows us to plan, focus attention, remember instructions, and successfully juggle multiple tasks. Since the game's initial release, different versions have been created, including online apps on various smart devices. Some versions have blocks or logs. Scattergories is a time-limited word game. You start with a list of categories and a random letter and have to think of a word for each category that begins with that letter. However, if you come up with the same word as someone else, it will not count toward your score. When the timer runs out, the person with the most complete list wins. What your brain has to deal with here is language and a time limit, and making judgments about which words to avoid because other players are likely to use them in their own lists. There's a lot going on here. This concludes this episode of Fancied Facts. If you haven't already, click the like button and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on future informative and exciting content. Until next time, take care and enjoy your day.